Do want to talk about the death toll. We know that it would rise, but really every time we get an update, it is so heartbreaking. And we have Fox 26's Jonathan Mejia that's been in Kerrville, and he brings us an update from there.
We're back in Kurville where we just heard from officials on what their search and recovery efforts are looking like. We have a confirmed number of deaths here in Kerr County. The confirmed number is 75 dead. That includes 40 adults and 27 children. Of those, 15 adults and 9 children are still pending to be identified. Over at Camp Mystic, there are 10 campers and 1 counselor still unaccounted for. And when it comes to the search and recovery efforts, we learned about their phase. They are in their primary phase, and what that is they're working in segments. Each segment can take between 1 hour to 3 hours and up to 2 kilometers each segment. That just speaks how large the county is. We learned about the technical challenges they're dealing with. They talked about drains, water, the weather, and they're also urging volunteers to stay out of the way. We know that a lot of people are looking to step in and help and conduct their own search efforts, but officials are saying to please not do so because that interferes with what they're doing. So they are pushing volunteers to call the Salvation Army of Kurville to find out how they can help. That number is 830-465-4797. Now, we also heard from the mayor of the city of Kurville, and he says this will be a rough week for the city. He remains hopeful. He says the work will continue. He says he's blessed with the help that the community is receiving, but he wants it to be a coordinated volunteer work. So again, they're reiterating and telling people to please stay out of the way and get with the Salvation Army. That way they can be coordinated on how best to help the situation here. We also heard from Senator Ted Cruz. He talked about how the whole state is grieving. The state is broken, right? Because this is unprecedented times that we're seeing here with the amount of lives lost, and we can only expect the death toll to continue to increase, not just in Kerr County, but Central Texas overall. They're in the process of coming together and recovering. He says that's going to take a little more while, but they have all hands on deck and are doing everything they can to find every missing person. Reporting in Kurville, Jonathan Mejia, Fox 26 News.
All right, and we have you covered here at Fox 26, reporters all over the area. And reporter Jillian Hartman is actually live near Marble Falls, which is right outside of Austin. They've seen their own tragedy this weekend with the floods. What can you tell us, Jillian?
Yeah, right now we're seeing more devastation here in Burnett County. We are along Hamilton Creek, and debris is just scattered everywhere. You can see right in front of us, this tree toppled over. Then across the creek there, you can see pieces of a fence. And then right down here, there's actually a light pole just sitting on a rock. So we are seeing a lot of destruction here. Some neighbors tell me that the water got to about this high. So it just shows you how much the water rose here, and then it all flooded into this neighborhood. And joining me here is Ricky Reed. He's a neighbor that woke up in the middle of the night with the water rising and tried to help his neighbors to safety at a local church nearby. So Ricky, can you walk us through your experience that morning?
Yeah, my neighbors, Sue Bratton right there and her daughter were already up and calling me and telling me to look out my back door that the water was rising up. So when I looked out my back door, the water was already initially coming in, and by the time I got into my hallway, it was already rushing in, and I had just enough time to get the pants on and a pair of shoes, and by the time I was going out the front door, it was about knee high, and I got 10 more feet, and it was about right below my buttocks, and I got all the way out to my truck, and I ran over to knocking on people's doors to get them up because they're all in their late 80s, and all of them are senior citizens, and I finally got them up, and all my other neighbors that I could get to, and then Sue Bratton and her daughter loaded up in their vehicle. She was parked on the other side of this middle building, and I was parked out here in front, and we went over to the church to a high area where the water was not so bad, but we was thinking that it may end up coming up that high because when it came fast. It's like a torrent, like a raging river, and you can see all the damage through here. And this is my air conditioner sitting over here.
Yeah, can you show us the damage inside your home?
Yeah.
You said you've lived here for about 5 years
yeah.
and never seen anything like this.
Yeah.
And the water got to how high?
About right in here.
And you lost almost everything.
Yeah, I lost everything. So there's no dryer. We're trying to salvage what we can. My wash machine's gone. My icebox, they had to move it over here. I was able to keep it going where I still have food in here, which I got. That's my daughter right there. But the water was already raging through here, and like I said, I made it into here, into my bedroom, and sat down and put my pants on real quick, and then I grabbed my shoes and I was putting a shirt on, and I was on my way out the door, and by the time I got to the door, it was about where my knees are, and then I got out about mid-stride of the sidewalk right there where those chairs are, and it was already up to here on me, and that current was just I could feel it around my body, you know, just pulling me that direction, and I didn't have time to shut my door anyways, and that water just started rushing in. But like I said, I made it all the way to my truck up there, and I said, well, I can't not get anybody else up. I got to get them up. And so I started banging on Fran and her neighbor Inez. They're in the late 80s, and I got them up, and then I called Glenda that lives right there and got her out of bed. And Don, my neighbor here, the fire department had to help him make it out to the road and get him to a safer place. But,
so it happened in an instant.
Yeah,
you had minutes to get out.
Yeah, within 5 minutes it was life or death.
And you said this is a close-knit community
Yeah,
here.
we're all, yeah.
Like family.
Family, yeah. Like when I need to go to my doctor's appointment, things like that. Don, my friend here, he's a veteran too, and I'm a veteran. He would always take me to my different doctor's appointments, or somebody when we all have our birthdays. Glenda's is the 20th, and mine's the 19th of June. Well, they do a birthday party for us, so we do the same with everybody.
And this is what you've been able to save?
Yeah, yeah. These here, I just got these. I just got that. This here is one of those type of tables that raises up like that.
And your neighbors are also cleaning up their places. You said there's about 40 units here, and 32
of them
are unlivable?
Yeah, unlivable.
So what are you going to do in the meantime?
Well, we don't know. We've got to wait to hear from HUD and FEMA and the insurance company that they have over this. I've rented a motel for a week, and I've got to go into my savings to do that. And but I have other doctor's appointments in this area all the way to Round Rock. For my eye, I just had major eye surgery done, and I'm not even really supposed to be driving, but I could not sit here and let that water carry us away and not help my friends and everything like that. I'm not a coward, so I made sure that they got out. If I lost my life over it, then that's fine. But if I got them out, then I'd feel better. You know, I'd feel good about it.
I'm glad you were able to make it, and so did your neighbors. And it's going to take some time to rebuild, correct?
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah. They don't even have a time limit right now. They got to replace all the heating elements, heater in here because it's air conditioned. They're together, the units, and I don't know if you've gone down that direction, but there's walls completely pushed out because of the water coming. And thank God that lady wasn't there. She was in the hospital and she's terminally ill, and they'd already contacted her family to come up to the hospital to say last more goodbyes to her, and she's the one that was supposed to be in that apartment. So I don't know if it was a good thing or bad thing. I don't know if she survived anything, but the people that are in charge here, they were here. They got on the ball, started getting the ball rolling as far as anything. I mean, there was so much mud and stuff in my apartment. I was lucky I could pull a lot of this stuff out of here, but I've saved for so long for a lot of pieces. Even the rugs that I've had in my apartment, I've waited months to come across them. You know, I traveled all over this area trying to find these certain rugs for my, because I love to live a good life. And
there's
VA,
some things that can't be replaced.
Right, but I can replace carpet. You know, I can replace there's all my furniture out there on the front yard deal. That's all of it right there.
Well, thank you for talking to us and
You're
sharing
welcome.
your story. That's a scary experience, but it sounds like you guys all rallied together to get to safety.
Yeah.
And we've been hearing a lot of devastation like that across this county. So let me give them a quick update on what we know here in Burnett County. So we have 3 confirmed deaths so far, and we have 3 missing people, and those 3 missing people are a 17-year-old girl, a local fire chief, and a beloved father. The Marble Falls Area Volunteer Fire Chief Michael Phillips went and responded to a water rescue call when he was swept away by floodwaters, and they were able to find his emergency vehicle, but first responders are still looking for him. They're also still looking for that 17-year-old girl who was actually just traveling with her family to go on a trip when they drove over a bridge that collapsed into Cow Creek, and they got out of their van and they were able to make it to shore safely except for this 17-year-old girl. So we're hoping to get an update from authorities on the missing people. I also just did an interview with a son who traveled from Maryland to try to find his dad. He tells me that his dad went missing early Saturday morning, and he said that his dad was traveling on this bridge over here right over Hamilton Creek, and his car was found floating in the creek over here, but they haven't been able to locate his dad. So he is actually right now along the creek here looking for his father. We talked to him, he was very emotional. Your heart just breaks for these families going through this. So we'll have his interview coming up later on Fox Local, and we'll have much more on this community who's rallying together.
I can fix that.
Well,
What?
you can't fix that.
Jillian, thank you so much for that report there. Really gives a good understanding of what's going on there, and still so much struggle for those people in that area. Now, she did give us an update for the Marble Falls area, and we are expecting an update in about an hour from Kerr County officials. And we heard earlier from Jonathan Mejia about a little bit what they had to say. Let's listen in from this morning's update.
Search and rescue operations are ongoing throughout Kerr County. We're using assets from local, state, and national first responders. Hundreds of trained first responders are working every aspect of this emergency. As of 8:30 this morning, we recovered 75 deceased bodies here in Kerr County, including 48 adults and 27 children. Of this 48 adults and 27 children, 15 adults and 9 children are pending identification. At present, there are 10 campers from Camp Mystic unaccounted for and 1 counselor. We continue to offer our condolences to those affected. Reuniting the families remain our top priority here on this operation. Please note that Highway 39 of an Old Ingram Loop remains closed to the public. Other than those who live in that area would not be allowed out there. I will now turn it over to Senator Cruz. City Manager Dalton Rice.
Good morning, Dalton Rice, the city manager for the city of Kurville. As everybody knows, we are working in conjunction with the city under a unified command response and again, a lot of devastation. Our hearts go out to the families and the victims. We want to continue to work together as a community. We love the media support on this to be able to communicate that message, communicate family, communicate togetherness, and we really appreciate all the support and helping us be able to do that. Search and rescue, as the sheriff said, search and rescue operations will continue today from Hunt in North Kerr County all the way to Canyon Lake in Comal County. Now, we're only focused on the Kerr County side, but we wanted to talk about that because from a linear from Hunt all the way to Comal County in a straight line distance is over 100 kilometers. This is a massive field that is happening, and again, this is unprecedented flood events. So we are still currently in the primary search phase, which is the rapid one. They are running it, we have different segments that are gridded out. Each one of those segments are taking anywhere between an hour to 3 hours, up to 2 kilometers for each segment. So what that means is they're running into a lot of technical challenges with terrain, with water, even potentially, with weather, in the rising fields. We've talked about this before. Volunteers stay out of the way because if we start getting weather reports and all the other complications that are out there, we then have to pull off of those search and rescue missions to be able to communicate to those volunteers to get off, to make sure that they don't become victims themselves. Those operations involve 19 different local and state agencies, in addition to conducting primary and secondary searches. They will be conducting welfare checks on areas in North Kerr County impacted by power outages. And when we say search and rescue operations, that is boat, walking, on the ground, dogs, drones. Again, keep personal drones out of the air. Helicopters. We do have other assets that are continuing the search as well. As of present, KPUB, which is the Kurville Public Utility Board, is reporting continued power outages between Hunt and Ingram along the South Fork of the Guadalupe River in Hunt. In the South Fork area, there are approximately 40 down power lines and significant infrastructure damage. KPUB has brought in additional utility personnel to help with restoration, but it's not possible at this time when the power is going to be restored. There are some substations along with those power lines that we are still trying to get access to just from debris buildup or them being completely wiped out. So we do not have an estimated time on when those are going to be fixed. We continue to have substantial number of requests for volunteers, as I said before, and donation opportunities. We are asking those who want to volunteer to contact the Salvation Army in Kurville by phone at 830-465-4797 or in person at 855 Hayes Street in Kurville. Monetary donations can be made on the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country's website at www.communityfoundation.net. They have a Kerr County Relief Fund set up on that site. And I will now turn it over to the Mayor, Joe Herring.
Thank you for being here. I need to tell my community and those families who are waiting, this will be a rough week. Primary search continues, and we remain hopeful every foot, every mile, every bend of the river. Our work continues. You need to know that we have been blessed with help from the community, from the state, and the nation. We have trained experts who are helping in this effort. If you want to volunteer, it is important that you contact Kurville Salvation Army and register. Dalton gave that number, but I'm going to give it again. 830-465-4797. We need focused and coordinated volunteers, not random people just showing up and doing what they do. We need to work together. As Dalton said, donations have been flowing in from around the world to the Community Foundation. Again, that website is communityfoundation.net. Please follow the City of Kurville's Facebook page for updates. They're accurate. We take a lot of time to make sure we send out information that will be helpful, not only to residents, but to those who are visiting. I've said this 100 times, and I will say it again. We need your prayers. We need your prayers.
All right, we just heard from the mayor there. Now I want to continue our coverage of that catastrophic flooding with Fox's Kennedy Hayes, who is joining us live now in Kurville. Kennedy.
Hi, Rashi. Well, this is just heartbreaking. State officials say at least 89 people have died. That includes 27 children, and some are still missing. Now, I want to give you an idea about how powerful the Guadalupe River is. I'm going to step aside so you can see this area behind me. Obviously, river levels have receded, but from what's left behind, you can see how powerful these floodwaters were. The trees are uprooted, many of them along the riverbank, but even upshore here, up the hill, you can see just how far some of these trees traveled. Now, here's a look at the Guadalupe River's path and where we are now. Among the missing, campers and counselors from Camp Mystic and all-girls Christian summer camp. They say at least 27 people there died in the floodwaters. Camp Mystic is near downtown Hunt, the area that saw the worst of it. By Friday morning, water levels rose nearly 30 feet there, and nearby Kurville also saw a dramatic surge, with floodwaters topping 24 feet in some areas. Now, crews are using helicopters, boats, and drones searching for those who are still missing. Governor Abbott has issued a state disaster declaration in over a dozen counties. President Trump is also offering help, approving federal disaster assistance, and the flood threat is still high. Forecasters are expecting more rain through Tuesday. Now, the community, though, is rallying. Area churches are packing food and water for families. One woman I spoke to told me her daughter works at one of the camps, made it out safely, but she was telling me about her own time as a camp director and how now she's here to help. And the good news is officials say they've rescued at least 850 people so far. Of course, we know more search and rescue efforts are underway. A helicopter just passed by in the distance, so hopefully more good news to come. Back to you.
I know there's a long road to recovery there. Can you tell us more about that community and how they are rallying together?
Absolutely. I've had conversations with dozens of parents, and really a big piece of this is just comforting their children, because so many of the children involved in this tragedy, they knew each other. It's a small community, tight knit. So really the focus, the parents tell me, is those relief efforts, telling their children that even though all of this bad occurred, there's so much good in the community and so much you can do to help.
All right, reporting live there from Kurville. Thank you so much. Now, we just heard from Kennedy, who was telling us the death toll risen to 89. And we do have more information about some of those victims. We'll tell you about that coming up after the break.